What's up? What's up? What's up? It's the last of just the two of us until it's the other two of us.
Right. Well, no,
Until,
I'll be around for a couple weeks before I go under the knife.
oh, I thought you were going under after next week.
No, March 25th is my
Oh, so you got like a month. Okay.
yeah. Yep.
All right, right on. Bluebird on your shoulder, in case you didn't know. If it's your first time, here we are. Um, I think I put everything in my screen name this week that I felt like could be addressed. Um, Not a crazy week.
Oh, it was pretty quiet actually. With the
Yeah,
State of the Union, most everything else kind of took a back burner.
right. Yeah. Iran has not escalated yet. The main thing that really happened with that, other than us positioning things, is they did get a deal done from what I saw with Russia over supersonic missiles that they now have the capability that they can sink our naval ships. So
Yeah.
that definitely makes you nervous and probably could be a major reason as to why nothing really popped off over there. Uh,
Right.
and that they're going to say, okay, well, hold on a second. Now that you got that, let's keep talking and see if we can't come to something. Um,
Well, and I wonder if with those supersonic missiles they sent over the PP tapes too.
yeah, I mean, there is rumors that, Israel's saying you need to strike Iran.
Yeah.
We're going to release tapes. And Iran saying, if you strike us, we're going to release tapes. So can
Yeah.
somebody just release the tapes already?
Right. No kidding. Everybody's got them.
Um, with that being said, though, one of the things we can check off of my name list is Hillary. She uh, testified, I guess you could kind of say,
Yeah.
uh, a closed door oversight committee today, and she basically pulled an 8 Mile scene where Eminem was in a rap battle and basically told them everything about themselves and basically said, "Go get fucked." So she basically said, "This is who I am. These are the positions that I held previously. This is what I did. This is what I know. What happens, and that you guys aren't going to do anything, and I don't know anything. But you should summon Elon Musk."
Um,
Um,
well,
so yeah, I there's nothing going to come of that. They're not going to do it because they know that he's going to.
oh, they know that he has dirt on Trump.
Right. Well, and there was, I don't know if you saw, but um he just got found that he was directly involved with election interference here and abroad. France is talking about not only seizing his assets but arresting him while it's like from investigation.
I
Uh,
haven't heard anything about that.
no shit.
No, yeah.
It's all just talk right now, but yeah, he meddled in the 24 election, and the stuff that they took from Georgia confirmed it. So again, with this world, for some reason here in America, you got money and you're white, so nothing's gonna happen to him. Uh, but I'm really excited for these foreign countries that are going to start doing their own investigations that don't have to answer to anybody over here. And when they start arresting and prosecuting people, what then happens? Because what's going to happen with Prince Andrew when it gets time for him to be sentenced, and then all of a sudden he says, "Here's all these names because I can't go to prison
Right, right.
because they're not built for that." Um, which then I guess could kind of lead us into the FBI. There have been some FBI agents that are basically pushing back against Trump and are doing things that are making the GOP's mouths drop wide open. Um, they just summoned Cash Patel and somebody else's phone records.
Yeah, well, that was before. So it was 2023, I think, is when um that was requested, and the FBI just now confirmed it. And so, the right's all like, "Oh my God, they
Oh, I
subpoenaed
thought
these."
it knew because of something he said during the State of the Union.
That's not what I read.
Okay.
So it was, yeah, but basically it's they're once again trying to act like the DOJ and investigative bodies of the federal government were being weaponized against them, when we can all see that they're clearly trying to do that to everybody else.
Right.
Luckily, most of the judicial system has been pretty good about just tossing that shit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, those judges are law people, like they understand. I mean, hell, even the Supreme Court's holding up most of the time, and passing them along a bunch of L's. So, I mean, we do have checks and balances in this country for a reason. Um,
it's unfortunate that they're not a little bit stronger than they should be, but
yeah.
that
Um,
that's the I'm blaming the Democrats for not pushing the rules to be followed at the right times. We would have a more balanced Supreme Court if they had, really fought tooth and nail to get that appointee through Obama done.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and and I think that some of these, well, and then the rest is Congress not doing their job.
Well, like we've said for many shows now, that it's because it's all party line now.
Right.
There's never, it's since we were kids, it's been a lost concept of for the people.
Yeah.
So
Now it's just a lot more evident because,
yeah, they don't even hide it anymore. It's, I mean, when you have things that, say the right comes up with something and then the entire left doesn't vote for it simply because
yeah,
it, and then vice versa it happens, just like last night, or was it last Tuesday night, the State of the Union, he was heckled and things happen, like protests and stuff like that. But they did the same fucking thing when Biden was in office. So
right,
like, can we just fucking grow up and govern already?
right. Yeah, and like I saw a lot of people like, oh, the Democrats just, showed that they're all traitors and anti-American because they wouldn't stand up and cheer for, whatever person that they were complaining about. There was the Medal of Honor recipient. There was
Johnson didn't stand up at all when Biden was speaking.
right. So like you said, they're both doing it, and
Yeah.
it's all bullshit. Uh,
Yes.
but they don't want to be shown as, being supportive, but the State of the Union is to talk about the state of the union. If you disagree with the president and his policies, then just don't clap for that stuff. But like, for the rest of it, you should be supportive of the country at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and I'm not positive because I'm pretty sure they stood when they were, recognizing a couple of the military guys that were there. Which, that's the right thing to do, even though it's
Right.
someone he picked to be there or whatever.
Well, that's the thing. Like, all right, so a Medal of Honor winner is not, the president signs off on it, but there is a whole book of process that has to go through
Yeah,
every, different levels of command all the way up to the president before they get awarded that. So it's not the president that awards that; it's their actions that win it.
yeah,
And so no matter what, there's no excuse for anybody not to, stand up and cheer for that,
sure.
especially 100-year-old, you know,
Right.
Korean War veteran.
It well, World War II.
No, no, he was World War II era, but he was I think that what won him the medal was in
Korean.
the Korean War.
Okay. I was gonna say because I think he's one of the last remaining World War II people alive. Like, there's not many left.
Yeah, they're all over 100 now.
Well, yeah.
So
Um, but
the only ones that are still alive are the ones that went in under 18 and lied about their age.
true. Yeah, yeah. Um, when did sports become part of politics? Because last time I checked, his first term in office, he wanted the NFL shut down because Kaepernick was kneeling. But now
Yeah.
hire a hockey team that won gold. Great job, guys, and all, but like, really?
So I will say I am glad that this just came out a couple hours ago. The men's team released a statement, and they said that they regret, laughing along with the president during that bad joke. And that's the right answer. Like, I can understand why they were they were happy, they were, exhilarated. They weren't really hearing what the president was saying, and they didn't take
Oh,
it, you
it, when
know.
the joke about the goalie making that save with his stick,
Yeah,
it was kind of funny. His delivery was terrible. He's definitely not a stand-up comedian, but
right, right.
it
Well,
was funny.
but like, um, the women's team, they like some of the press that they did afterwards was phenomenal. I don't know if you've heard any of it. I think I sent one to you guys today during my, rant of sharing videos on Facebook today. But she released or one of the team members released a statement, and she was like, I think it was in poor taste, but I'm not here to comment on that. I'm here to celebrate what me and my teammates did, and that was the right answer. The men followed up with the statement saying, that they found that to be callous and unnecessary, and like you said, like to have them there at the State of the Union, that's a great honor for them. But
He did
you
it
know,
for
I think that he wants so badly to be, um, he wants so badly to be liked and praised that he needed to bring enlist as much as he could in well wishing, in order to be able to feel good about what he had to say.
yeah. They were a prop.
Yep. Just like the Medal of Honor recipient, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. They were a prop to make him look good.
Yep.
They were the second option. He initially invited the women team to come, and they said no. So he just needed something, like
Yeah.
I one additional thing, and it was going to be a gold medal winner,
Well,
something.
and he's been harping on like, or he's been kind of talking about, you know, thank God Elon got me elected, this time, because now, because if I had gotten elected last time, um, then I wouldn't be the president for, the Olympics, the World Cup,
Right.
and it's like those were going to happen regardless. That those decisions were made long before you, and
Yeah.
so like trying to take credit for those kinds of things is just hilarious to me.
Well,
It's
yeah, he needs to take credit for the 17,000 hotel bookings that have been canceled because people don't want to come here
yeah. Well,
for
I
the
mean,
for the World
there,
Cup.
yeah, the World Cup. I mean, there was some rumblings about like, are we going to have to, try to change location real quick, you
Right.
know? But I mean, they build basically, a new stadium for the World Cup wherever it lands. So the to do so would have been quite a
Well, they have it, so it's going to be basically in South and North America,
yeah.
or Mexico and North America, which they might have to relocate Mexico with the way that it's going right now. So, for those of you who don't know, this wasn't on my list, but since it's being brought up, um, the Mexican military killed the leader of one of the cartels down there, and now the cartel is just running roughshod over everything. They're going into airports and shooting them up. They're setting shit on fire all over the place. Um, yeah, it's and a lot of that cartel's men are former military, anyways. From what's being reported, anyways. Um, so if that's gonna affect World Cup, because they do have a stadium down there that is on the schedule for some of the games, then that's going to throw a wrench in things.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know where they would put it. I can't imagine they would put it anywhere further south. I don't know where else in America they would put it. I know we do have the closest to us being in the Midwest is Philly. And then I think there's Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto has one. They could always pop down to Rio. Um, I know Brazil would make,
They won't.
all
Brazil hosts their own.
their own.
That's like its own World Cup. Like when France does one,
Yeah.
Brazil does one. They wouldn't do that again.
Huh. I don't know enough about their how the World Cup and the FIFA and all them operate.
Well, so there's always like a host country.
Right.
So like when France does it, it's not all like in one town, just like here. Like it's the United States was the winner of the bid or whatever for the World Cup, but there's some in Canada, Mexico, and then a few throughout the United States. But the United States is the host country. Um, so like especially like all the later rounds, elimination rounds, all that will be in America.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but like when a foreign country does it, like France or Germany or something like that, England, all those football countries over there, it's all throughout that one country. Like it's not shared with other countries. So Brazil's the same way.
Gotcha.
Because
Yeah, because we don't have a big enough league that we wouldn't host the whole thing. Is that what you're
well,
saying?
I mean, we do with the MLS, but I don't believe those stadiums are big enough. Like I think if they were to have one out in LA, it would probably have to be at the Olympic Stadium that's out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Like
that's
because
what I mean. I know that they build new stadiums and stuff like that just for, the World Cup, and I know that they also try to scout sites like 10 years in advance or something.
yeah,
So
yeah, they have to give them time for
the
countries to
build.
build them and
Yep.
prep the local economies
Right.
for all that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, 'cause that is a heavy
open.
influx, and you don't want to have that huge influx, have a poor showing, and then basically the entire economy leaves afterwards, never to be seen again. So the
Which
scale up has to be proper.
Olympics,
Yeah, exactly.
like that has left. Like I remember when it was in Atlanta, and what was that, like 96?
Yeah, I think so.
Like that spurred a lot of income for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden their income just not their income, the economy there from that, and all the taxpayer dollars that go into stuff, like, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot of times not so good. Like it's an honor to host that stuff, and it's cool to have, you get to root on your guys and all that stuff, but like long term sometimes it's not worth it.
Right.
um
I know there's been some talk about like places have passed on hosting things like that because they don't have the infrastructure to be able to do it.
right, right. So before we get into the, we'll call it the state of delusion. I know that you shared something earlier today about AI and what our Department of War is wanting to use for it. So
Yeah.
you would like to elaborate on that because I don't know much about it other than it doesn't sound like it's going to be very good if you're a citizen.
Well, it's not going to be good for anybody anywhere, really. Basically what they're talking about is they're they're trying to get AI companies to take off any of the security settings that would basically stop AI from one being able to execute on full on missions by itself without any human oversight. Number two, to be able to basically do like execute on its mission no matter what, no matter what barriers are would be involved, like constitutional rights and things. So basically what they're worried about is, automating like a nuclear arsenal so that there's the possibility of, you know, the the systems deploying whenever they receive certain inputs on their own without needing, the keys and stuff like that. And all levels up and down. We're talking about moving into you know, a state of war where most of it's done with machines. So there's less one on or there's less human on human violence. It's machine on human or machine on machine violence, that we're seeing a lot with the drones and things in Ukraine. And if you start um, taking off the those constraints that AI companies put in, to keep from AI being able to do that all on its own, then you end up with drones that are sitting out there, kind of like landmines where, they're just set up to do what they do and anybody could trip that into, deploying. Um, and,
Jesus.
and they talked about in Russia, during the height of the Cold War, there was a system that was put in place that basically would read seismic activity throughout Russia. And if enough of the right seismic activity would happen in, different nodes, then it would register that as a full-on nuclear attack against Russia, and all of its nuclear arsenal would deploy
Oh,
all
one.
at the same time. So basically, it was just, it was um a process put in place to make sure that everybody else died if they were killed. So, and my comment, today was, that they're trying to just hand Skynet the ability to do what, it wants to do without, us even putting up a fight. And in fact, Hegseth and them, they basically want to automate, you know, targeting. I don't know. I know I'm a Marvel nerd, but I just went through um the Captain America timeline, and in Winter Soldier, um, Captain America Winter Soldier, they are about to deploy the helicarriers with basically long range cannons that could reach out and touch anybody, and a program that would target people based off of their like 50 different points of data that would show that they're engaged in criminal activity or about to engage in criminal activity. And that's basically where Captain America says, that's anti-American, and fights against it. And then they find out that Shield is actually being run by Hydra. And so I feel like I feel like that's what's going on. We've
Yeah,
Hydra's in charge and they're pretending like, they're our shield, but really they're working on figuring out a way to target us.
sure. Yeah, for a rebellion. And
Yeah.
then say, woof,
Yep.
gone.
And then there was another thing that I looked at today, and it was really interesting. There's a lot of research going on, and some of it has to do with the way that conservatives view politics versus the way that left-leaning or centrists view politics. And, Democrats and middle of the aisle voters, they view politics as kind of um, transactional. So each issue is something that they think through differently, and they use more of their rational brain for it. Where you see more with the right and Republicans, you see different parts of their brain light up, and the way that they answer questions makes it seriously more like a religion to them, and it has to do with they identify themselves as being um part of those party issues. So like for abortion, it's a religious type of reaction that they have versus other people who are trying to listen to the science and trying to make decisions based off of not just what's best for the baby but also for the mother and the socioeconomic impacts and things like that. And anyways, so if you look, if you kind of take all of that together, it's looking a lot like the right is willing to give up some of their freedoms in order to be the ones that are in control, the ones that are winning, you know, and
So much winning.
winning, 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 and so. I really thought that we had heckled him enough about the winning that he wasn't going to keep on. And then,
He's oblivious.
geez.
Uh,
So, anyways, that was kind of my thought process around that topic today.
that's
And
scary.
yeah, it is really scary, especially, you know, we we think that, he's picking fights with everybody all around the world, but really he's just looking for people that he can, get a win out of quickly. And then I think that the long game is testing out and, working towards being able to turn that on his political enemies, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Well, hopefully he's out of there before that's able to be done. But speaking of winning, um, our man James Tallarico
mhm.
took a 4 point lead today over Jasmine Crockett. So keep an eye on that. I'm kind of hoping that what we talked about last week does come to fruition, because I saw an article today of you could call it too early, but not too early, front runners for the right and the left for 28.
Yeah,
And if it were to happen right now, it would be Vance against Kamala Harris.
yeah.
And they're both right now way ahead, like double digits ahead of anybody else.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. And
I
and
wish
while
I wish Newsom would step up again. He got loud there for a while,
yeah,
and then he's kind of just faded. Like, are you gonna run, or you know what I mean? Like you had a real opportunity to
I
shine
think
and position yourself as the guy, and
I think that he's too much of a corporate Democrat
yeah,
that, he didn't know how to leverage the fame that he was being given with those tactics and turn them into dollars. Um instead, I think that he tried to pivot into fundraising, with the corporate donors, and now he's kind of lost his traction.
Right.
So
Yeah, I just don't know because of where the country's at. And I think we all know what I mean by that. By a woman and a minority, can she be the VP of this administration who's a white male?
yeah, and that's kind of what I talked about with Tallarico versus Crockett. She's
Right. Yeah. In
oh,
Texas. Yeah.
yeah, and in Texas, a white male that is you know religious, that's articulate, um, and you
Yeah.
know
She's articulate just in
white.
the wrong way for Texas.
Yeah, well, I mean, and like I said today, or well, what I tried to say in that text message, my voice to text, you know,
I,
screwed me again. But basically, for her, kind of going um a little rowdy in committees and things, that translates poorly when it comes to going for higher office. And I think that she needs a little more time in committee to take positions of power and translate that into a more tempered um approach. And I think that she will be able to go farther. I just don't think that she's the right candidate for that state right now, I think that
yeah.
I,
It's
I think he's in pretty easy win. And I think that in Texas that could be really useful towards, turning it purple.
yeah. It's like she needs to learn how to read the room a little bit better.
Well, I mean, that's kind of one of the things that I like about her is that she's not afraid to, go hot,
No,
and
yeah, absolutely. But like we're saying, like given the environment,
right.
like you're kind of forced to.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. She absolutely is using that platform to great effect. She's getting notoriety, she's getting that build, but like I said, I think if she could get a year in committee where they were the majority, and she was able to get, you know, the top of a committee, especially one of the ones that she has great expertise in. I think that she would really be able to elevate herself to a Senate position, and then could get herself into a vice president or a presidential run, depending on how, you know, how
Was
how well we're able to beat back the white supremacists.
Yeah, she's got to figure something out to get a seat back because I don't see her beating JT.
Yeah. No, I
I'm
agree.
You jump out to a 4 point swing in a matter of a week, and the amount of money and volunteers that you've gotten
Yeah,
already.
well, and they're both pretty grassroots. You know,
Right.
I think that it would be a shame to see them, kind of carve each other up versus, elevate each other up to, positions where they could both win.
And they may do that. It might not be a cut you down at the knees type of campaign
Oh, I
because
don't, I don't, I don't see that at all. No, but still arguing, against each other only is going to help one of you up, at a point where I think both of them have what it takes to win something, you know, and I'd rather see both of them get a decent seat than, them fight each other to, one win and the other one not. Plus, I think that the timing is right. I think that the chance to swing people hard the other way can get us more seats than, the little bit that is being projected right now. I think that there's a lot of room for that.
yeah, I agree with that for sure. So we'll just get to, I guess, the last thing to talk about tonight, and that was the State of the Union from Tuesday night. Um, Longest State of the Union speech ever by like 10 or 11 minutes. Um,
No wonder I didn't want to watch it.
yeah, no, I did not watch it for the sheer fact that I was hoping that there were millions of other people like me that didn't want to give him the credit of the viewership. So I watched the governor from Virginia's rebuttal to it and read through that. And then I read through several fact checking articles, and then went and looked up information myself. And I found actually that, shit, his name just escaped my mind. Dan, he's like a senior editor from CNN, but he's like their top fact check person. Him and another lady at CNN named Sarah. They do like all their fact checking there. So most of this is from them. Um, and there's a lot of quotes in here, mainly from exact lines that Trump said. So I'll just start off with the first claim is that this is the golden age of America. He said, "When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world." Uh, the fact check on that was Trump didn't inherit the worst inflation in U.S. history, and Biden never had the worst inflation in U.S. history. The year over year inflation rate in December of 24, Biden's last full month in office, was 2.9%. The rate in January of last year, the month in which Trump took over partway through, was at 3%. The most recent rate, January of this year, was at 2.4%. The rate did hit a 40-year high at 9.1% in June of 22, but that was far from an all-time high of 23.7%, which was set in 1920. And I really think that 9.1 and 22 was a byproduct of, we were shut down for a year, and then all of a sudden everything opened up, started spending again, so it naturally does that, and then you have to try to hold in and say, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I think that number is a little, like, if you don't take that into account, like, it's not really fair.
Well,
um
and on top of that, if you look at the policy decisions that were made, the fact that Trump pressured interest rates to stay at zero,
right.
all the way up till COVID, and then they weren't gonna, raise them up right away. That didn't give them as much leverage in order to be able to make adjustments in order to help, slow down inflation. Also, the fact that he mishandled COVID all the way up until it had to be completely shut down. And then Biden inherited the economy as it was, opening back up after he was able to get the vaccine and stuff out.
Right.
Yeah, trying to blame that on Biden, it just is laughable to me.
Yep. So then to finish that one off, to kind of, I guess, put into perspective of what inflation has done now, and I think this isn't even really fair to Trump, is that some of this has to do with his illegal tariffs. But as of Wednesday, when I pulled this, um, coffee was up 18.3%, ground beef's up 17.2%, cereal is up 6.2%. Bananas are up 5.4%. Fish is up 7.1%. And cookies are up 5%. Me personally, I'm most pissed about the cookies.
Electricity is also up 6.9% since he's taken office, and gas is up and down. Like it can't quite decide what it's doing.
Don't worry, I have that in here too
All right.
about the gasoline.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so the next claim was that. So okay, so let me back up. So there were in this article that Dan wrote, there was he said that there was 15 just bold-faced lies through the State of the Union, like 15 just flat out lies.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not positive if these claims that he fact checked were of those or if they were like part of the misleading ones because it didn't really indicate. But and I didn't do all of them, but I definitely took ones I think that meant the most and kind of just highlighted the those things in the State of the Union. So the next one was he said, today our border is secure, our spirit is restored, inflation is plummeting, incomes are rising fast, the roaring economy is roaring like never before, and our allies are scared. Um,
Did he say our allies are scared?
or I'm sorry, our enemies are scared.
Okay. I mean, our allies are scared, but
Sorry, I got a little bit dumbfounded.
Hmm.
He used roaring within a matter of two words, like you
Yeah.
are articulate or intelligent enough that you can't come up with another adjective.
No.
So the fact check on that was the facts don't corroborate the suggestion that Trump has presided over a massive economy boom since returning to office in January of 25. The U.S. economy grew 2.2% in 2025, which was lower than any year of the Biden presidency. There was 2.8% growth in 2024. The fall 2025 government shutdown likely reduced growth in late 2025.
Hmm.
So your economy is so big, but you're lacking at more growth than the horrible Biden economy did in any year.
Yep.
The guy who uses an auto pen and wasn't running the White House and didn't even know where he was at ran a better economy than you.
Yep.
Little PP syndrome.
And that's even without a huge tax bill that gave corporations and um, the top 10% an extra $10,000 on their tax returns this year.
Well, that's the flaw there. Trickle down has never, ever, ever, ever worked in the history of the trickle down.
Nope.
So the next claim is about your gasoline that you brought up. Uh,
Mhm.
the claim was gasoline, which peaked over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor. It was quite honestly a disaster. It is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline.
I did
Fact,
see a lot of people asking, where is gas $1.89?
yeah, fact check on that, because he actually said that when he went, it was more than a month ago, he went and said something about it, and then they immediately came out and said that it wasn't true. So this probably is one of those that's a flat out lie. The fact check is no state had an average gas price on Tuesday below $2.37 per gallon, according to AAA. Only two states had an average below $2.50 per gallon. And while there are some individual gas stations selling gas for below $2 per gallon, they are scarce. Patrick DeHaan, head of petroleum analysis for the firm Gas Buddy, said during the speech that the firm found just four stations across the whole country below $2,
Yeah.
aside from special discounts. Out of the roughly 150,000 gas stations the firm tracks, so about 0.0003% of the total. Trump could fairly say gas prices have fallen during the presidency. They have declined from a national average of 3.2 or $3.12 per gallon on his inauguration day in 25, according to AAA, to a national average of $2.95 per gallon on Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, they're all over the place, and they can't seem to get a handle on things because of Russia and Ukraine, threats to the Middle East, Venezuela oil being stolen by somebody.
When
Um,
it never, as soon as it drops, throughout the week, and then overnight again, boom, the beginning of the next week, 30 cents, 35-cent jump overnight because he goes and says something stupid.
right.
Like, I can't remember a time in my life where getting gas on the weekend was the better thing to do rather than Monday or Tuesday.
Right, right.
So that one's a little bit weird for me.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked about how presidents don't typically have much of a hand in gas prices. What we were just talking about is where they do have a hand in it, where
It's just,
speculation drives price because, they're picking fights or, threatening people or stealing oil.
yeah, they can influence it by perspective, just like the stock market, how
Mhm.
people feel about something. But it is just one of those where they can't write a bill or an executive order that directly affects it. So, I mean, yes, in a way they can, but not like how people insinuate.
Yeah.
So his next claim: in 4 long years, the last administration got less than $1 trillion in new investment in the United States. And when I say less, substantially less. In 12 months, I secured commitments for more than $18 trillion pouring in from all over the globe. Think of it. Much less than 1 trillion for 4 years versus much more than 18 trillion for 1 year. What a difference a president makes. Uh, for one, before I even get into the fact check, you'll notice a trend through this whole State of the Union that it's bashing the previous administration and the current Democrats and me, I'm so
Mhm.
great and we
Yep.
did. Um,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Doesn't sound much like the State of the Union, but more like the state of him.
Well, of what he
Yeah,
thinks,
yeah.
of delusion.
Mm.
Um, but and I'm not surprised at this point.
Yeah,
But how are you going to sit there and say that Democrats are divisive when you're doing this?
yeah,
Um, like you're just further dividing. You had an opportunity to sit there and say, we did this. Instead, it's I did all of this and they did nothing.
yeah. Yeah,
Two,
I've never heard I mean, I like you said, I wasn't surprised at all based off of the other State of the Unions that we've listened to from him, but um, I've never heard another president say anything like that. Like
yeah.
I don't think that I don't know that Obama used a single I in any of his speeches during his 8 years, you know? And I know the two that I listened to from Biden where it was all about, we are going to do this. This is what we're doing, you know, but
So the fact check on that statement was the $18 trillion figure is fiction. As
here.
of the night of Trump's address, the White House's own website said the figure for major investment announcements in quotations during this Trump term was $9.7 trillion, and even that is a major exaggeration. As a detailed CNN review in October found, the White House was counting trillions of dollars in vague investment pledges that were about bilateral trade or economic exchange rather than investment in the U.S. and vague statements that didn't even rise to the level of pledges.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean like like one of those pledges was like three times the GDP of whatever country it was from.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Well, and he's always been known for exaggerating like that to make it sound even more robust than, you know.
I mean, I think that there's 34 felonies that explain exactly that.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, no shit. I caught a fish this big. Next claim, the debt we owe to the heroes who came before us, and that is the promise we must keep to America for our 250th year. Last year, I urged this Congress to begin the mission by passing the largest tax cuts in American history, and our Republican majorities delivered so beautifully. Thank you, Republicans. Fact, the tax cut amounts to 4.8 trillion or 1.3% of the nation's gross domestic product over a decade, according to the latest Congressional Budget Office analysis released earlier this month. However, the bill is not the largest tax cut in history, experts said. It ranks seventh in terms of share of GDP since 1918, according to Chris Towner, policy director of the Committee of Responsible Federal Budget, a non-partisan watchdog group. The next claim, the great, big, beautiful bill. We gave you no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. We all know that that's fictional because there were stipulations to it. We've talked about that before. Fact Check says the massive domestic policy package that Trump signed last summer did create an additional temporary $6,000 per year tax deduction for individuals age 65 and older, with a smaller deduction for individuals earning $75,000 per year or more. But as the White House itself has implicitly acknowledged, millions of Social Security recipients age 65 and older will continue to pay taxes on their benefits, and that new deduction, which expires in 2028, conveniently when he leaves office, if he makes it there, doesn't apply to the Social Security recipients who are younger than 65.
Yep.
I believe we've talked about that before as well.
Yep. Yeah, he loves to pass bills that only help people while he's in office, and then
Well, yeah, so he's going to do like what Bush did and leave the next person with a whole pile of shit. And then they're going to, if it's a Democrat, they're going to be expected to clean it all up day one,
it'll
which
it'll
is
be it'll be a Democrat. And yeah, they'll think or they're doing it on purpose. They're using that as political leverage so that they can, get more seats back, during the midterms and then can, continue to delude people into thinking, that they're the only ones that can fix it again. Yeah,
yeah,
it's all very tiring at this point to understand the cycle that they're using, the playbook that they're using, because it's not, you know, where it is where it is effective, it is not um it lacks honor, it lacks integrity. you know,
absolutely.
and and so I can't even, even when I can say like, they really knew what they were doing here. Um, you know, somebody who somebody who commits genocide that knows what they were doing, I can't, I can't credit them for it.
Sure.
And this is kind of the same thing. They're using people's fear and anger as a way to turn them into sycophants.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. All right. I'm going to burn. There's only maybe five left. I'm going to burn through them real quick because they're kind of small.
Get them.
His next claim, he said, they poured in by the millions and millions from prisons, from mental institutions. They were murderers, 11,888 murders. They came into our country. You allowed that to happen. And record setting inflation that cost the typical family $34,000 in just a speck of time. Now, the same people in this chamber who voted for those disasters suddenly used the word affordability, a word they just used it. Somebody gave it to them, knowing full well that they caused and created the increased prices that all of our citizens had to endure. Fact check. Trump was inaccurately describing federal data. The Department of Homeland Security and independent experts have noted that the figure it appears Trump is referring to when he uses the 11,888 number is about non citizens who entered the U.S. not just under Biden, but over the course of multiple decades, including during Trump's own first administration. Talk about being handed a number and just using it.
Yeah.
Uh, the next claim, he said, members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. We have all the information, and in actuality, the number is much higher than that. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. Fact check. It's possible this $19 billion figure will be proven true, but nothing close to that figure has been proven to date. In December, federal prosecutor Joseph Thompson claimed that half or more of 18 billion in federal funds billed by 14 Medicaid services in Minnesota deemed at high risk for fraud might be fraudulent, which now they do have an investigation because they have found fraud.
Yeah.
Um,
And
have those
uh
pulled down.
what I heard, or what I just read was, right now it's looking at closer to $1 billion, which is a number. I mean, $1 billion in fraud that, that needs to be caught and handled. But, it was.
A tenth of 19 billion, though.
Yeah, yeah. There, not only is that a huge difference, but also the way in which that was found was through normal, auditing, and that's why those things are in place. It's not like he instituted anything new, that's just normal auditing that caught that.
Yep.
Uh,
And that happens everywhere. I mean, my in less than 90 days wife, her and her mother both used to work for the state dealing with people with benefits, and her mom was the what do they call her, CLJ, a civil law judge, like not criminal, but she would hear the cases in which the people like Brandy would find the fraud, and then she would go to hear the case for a settlement, and either approve or decline, the benefits. So I mean, it does happen everywhere. Everyone's always trying to get by, and we're not trying to mitigate or downplay
right,
$1 billion because it should be zero.
right, right. And
But like you
and there is one way that we could avoid any of that.
sure is, is, but we won't get into that. Um, so his next statement: no more crooked mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. None. And this should be an easy one. And by the way, it's polling at 89%, including Democrats, 89%. And even the new communist mayor of New York City, I think he's a nice guy, actually, speak to him a lot. Uh, fact check: the incidence of fraud is also tiny with small mail in ballots, though experts say it is slightly higher than with in person voting, and there is no basis to categorically describe them as crooked.
Yeah, and it's a percentage so infinitesimal that they haven't that it's never risen to above 1%. So, yeah, and also that 89% number, that's how many people disagree with cracking down on mail-in ballots. That's how many people think that mail-in ballots should be either sustained or expanded on.
Right, right. Yeah. So we got two more. So the next one was: we're proudly restoring safety for Americans at home and we are also restoring security for Americans abroad. Our country has never been stronger. In my first 10 months, I endured 8 wars, including Cambodia. Isn't it funny? They're sick people. Cambodia and Thailand, Pakistan and India would have been a nuclear war. 35 million people said the prime minister of Pakistan would have died if it were not for my involvement. Kosovo and Serbia, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, Armenia and as whatever country that is, the Congo and Rwanda, and of course the war in Gaza, which proceeds at a very low level. It's just about there. And I want to thank Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner for your help. Facts. While Trump has played a role in resolving some conflicts, at least temporarily, the 8 figure is a clear exaggeration.
None of them were wars,
Right. Yeah. Uh,
except for the genocide that Israel is committing against Palestine.
we can go play golf. But some of those were so small, we never even heard of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, none of those were wars. I mean, Pakistan and India, they basically got on each other's borders and were like having like marching
Yeah.
like battles.
Right.
So like the I remember watching one of the videos, like literally they just took turns like doing a march and then like, throwing an insult at the other side, you know? So, the I think that there was like 5 people or something in that possible nuclear war and you
Right.
know that were actually killed because of the conflict.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
and then last one that I chose to look at was we have the most powerful military on earth. I rebuilt the military in my first term. We're going to continue to do so. Also, we just approved a $1 trillion budget. We have no choice. We have to be strong because hopefully we will seldom have to use this great power that we built together. It's really called peace through strength, and it's been very, very effective. So, thanks to Republicans in Congress, we're investing that record number of dollars um, and have no choice in the United States Armed Forces. Also, creating a lot of jobs, but we're not even doing it for that reason. Because, as I said, we have more jobs, more people working today than ever before in the history of the country, which is just a fucking lie. Um, the fact
Well,
check.
maybe the most amount of people that are working, but that's because our population has grown.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Just a few more people here than 1920. Uh,
Right.
fact check. It is true, but the claim needs context. The number of people working tends to rise over time because the U.S. population tends to rise over time.
How
Uh,
about
we're not even economists and know that. People know that. Economists say there are far better measures of health of the labor market. Um, so I guess in conclusion, we kind of already said it was long. It was the longest State of the Union speech in history. Everything is Biden's fault. It's all about Trump. It was extremely divisive, just further dividing our country because of the blame game.
Yep.
So, State of Delusion done. Um, this week is done. It'll be interesting to see what happens next week. Oh, and by the way, we won, what was it, 3 or 4 more special elections during the state of uh of the union. So now since he's taken office, we're at like 60-0.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and the midterms are gearing up. I would like to think about looking at the numbers for like when when it would be good for the Crockett Tallarico situation to kind of flush itself out so that whoever is going to go for it has the most amount of time to be able to do so when those types of um um campaigns like gear up when they're decided and when, they start switching gears towards, the primary.
Well,
Um,
it'll be, I mean, typically when the weather breaks, right? Like
yeah.
springtime, people get more active. The holidays are over. The shitty weather's done. You can put your little sign in the yard.
Yep. Yeah, I think May and June, and then
You pretty much know who's going to be the winner of whatever head-to-head race to be the nominee by the time like school gets back in or
yeah,
labor. Like,
August, September.
yeah,
Yeah.
August, September. Like, okay, these are the ones that are going to be doing. Actually, I think it might be like by the end of July, because I feel like some early debates that happen are like right after school starts. Because I mean, then you've got what 2 months after that, basically, and then you're voting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I know they kick up the tempo October, running up to election day. So,
Yeah.
and that's where you start seeing, the signs really like just popping out of nowhere.
Well, and early voting, at least in Texas, there is like record level early voting, um, and we're kicking their ass in that. And so that's usually a really good sign about what's to come for midterms and for the general in 28, because typically midterms are a lot like your local election that have
Right.
very poor turnout.
Right.
However, time around, I think it's going to be that they see that this is the easiest way rather than trying to bank on him screwing up and just absolutely fucking up against the constitution or something like that, to where they have no choice but to remove him.
Yeah.
Will basically make him a mute point come November.
Well,
um
I think I kind of have a feeling that the party will probably push him, down into, making as few waves as possible because if he's, doing a bunch of bullshit, um, you know, people that otherwise might have come out to vote are gonna feel like, you know what, like I'm over him, so I'm just not going to vote for, the
right.
party that would normally vote for, where the Democrats are going to be more motivated to get out there and at least rebalance the federal government.
Sure. Yep.
So,
um Two things before we get off of here. uh I felt really bad the next morning after we recorded last week that we failed to mention that the Reverend Jesse Jackson passed away.
oh yes, yeah,
Um,
I did want to say something about that today too.
Icon, in civil rights, inequality, NAACP. If you don't know about him, you've been living under a rock.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand he
He's
was
been prominent since the
like,
90s and
yeah,
before.
he was like 84 years old or whatever, but the man did a lot for his people and for people in general. And it's sad. Like it's a omen to me that we're getting old, because the people that we learned about that did things like that, when our parents were children, are now passing away.
Yeah.
So politicians, you know what I mean? Like, and then the other thing is we didn't really talk about the tariffs. Um,
Mm.
those were deemed illegal. And so now his administration is starting to, there's been two official filings that those need to be refunded in the amount of like $1,700 to each household, because that was guesstimated that we paid extra last year. And then his response to the Supreme Court for that, because he threw a tantrum, is he decides he's going to maintain a global tariff of 15%. So
Yep.
he costing you 15% more just because he's upset. So,
Yep.
with that being said, have a great week. We'll see you next week. It'll be all three of us again. Is Bluebird on your shoulder? Take care.
Thanks a lot, you guys.